Hello, my witchy friends. Welcome to the 6th episode of Cat's Tea and Witchcraft. Today's episode is going to go over the Wheel of the Year. Now that it is October 2020, everyone was dreading this month to come because we didn't know what was going to happen with COVID and everything, but I hope everyone continues to be safe out there and take precautions depending on where you live. It's better to be safer than sorry. And I say this because the start of the holiday season for many people start in October. So please be safe for you, your friends, family, and just everyone around you. So I'm going to jump right into the meat of everything today. And if you have not heard of the Wheel of the Year before, this is kind of a general definition of what it is. The Wheel of the Year is the rotation of Wiccan and or witch celebrations and or holidays, depending on what you want to call them, based around the seasons of the year. I would like to point out, depending on what hemisphere of the world that you live on, these holidays will land on a slightly different time of the year, but I am going to go over the dates that are based on the northern hemisphere of the world. So if you are new to witchcraft or Wicca, you have probably heard about a variety of different holidays that are celebrated. And the term that you most likely hear is sabbats. In the Wheel of the Year, there are 8 in particular that are celebrated. Since it is October, I'm going to go ahead and start with Samhain. Samhain, kind of pronounced a little differently than it's spelled, and it's almost spelled as if it says Samhain, but that's not the way it's pronounced. It is Samhain, and it is celebrated on October 31st, which is also Halloween or Day of the Dead, depending on your culture. Following Samhain is Yule, which is celebrated between December 19th and 22nd, and that is on the winter solstice. The next is Imbolc, which is between February 1st and 2nd. Ostara is between March 19th to 22nd, which is the spring equinox. Beltane is around May 1st, which is sometimes referred to as May Day. Following that is Litha, which is between June 20th and 22nd, which is the summer solstice. After that is Lunasa, which some people call it Lamas or Lamas. Sometimes people call it llamas as if the animal, just because it's kind of funny and it's silly. And Lunasa is celebrated at the beginning of August on the 1st. And then the last one is Mabon, which is September 20th to 22nd, depending on the year. And actually, there is some debate now that I've been hearing about that Mabon is not a proper name to use. And otherwise, you might want to refer to it as the fall equinox, depending on what research you've done and what you think about the background information that you find on the term Mabon. If you would like to maybe listen to a current podcast that has some of that information, there is an episode by Seeking Witchcraft, and the title of that episode is called Why Mabon is a Lie. I'm not saying that you need to believe everything that's said. Just make your own opinion based on the information that is provided. Do your own research and decide what you would like to do. If you would like to continue to call it Mabon, or you would like to just call it the fall equinox. Before I jump into more information about the sabbats, I just want to kind of go over a little bit more information about sabbats in general. All of these celebrations are based on what is perceived to be older pagan celebrations that have been modernized into today's world based on limited information that we have from the past. People like to use decorations and food that we think are associated with older traditions, as well as combining it with modern decorations and traditions. You may notice that some of these traditions and decorations line up and are very similar with monotheistic religions, celebrations, and decorations. But I just want to say I'm not going to go too deep into that today because I know sometimes that topic gets a little touchy with people and sometimes turns into bashing other religions, which I do not find appropriate. So the only thing I'm going to say in regards to that, if you notice the similarities, is that over history, if it was right or wrong, cultures end up combining with each other one way or another, and they do feed off of each other. So that's why a lot of decorations and traditions, if it's perceived as one way or another, seem to kind of match or line up. Even if it's all the way from using Easter eggs or using a holiday Christmas tree or whatever you want to call it. So the first one that was on the list is Samhain, which is Also Halloween, which is one of my favorite holidays, and it is also considered one of the greater sabbats. This sabbat is to celebrate loved ones who have passed away, and like I mentioned, it aligns up with Halloween and Day of the Dead, which is celebrated in Mexico. What it is perceived during Samhain is the veil of the world, or the spirit world, is thin, and it's a good time to try to communicate with loved ones and also give offerings if they decide to cross over from the other side. Also, because of that thinning of the veil, some say this is a great month to really dive into divination. And just in my experience, I have had some crazy accurate tarot readings on myself during the month of October. So if you're looking for a little bit of a pick me up on your skills, this might be the time to do it. The next Sabbath is Yule, which also lines up within a few days of Christmas, and this is the winter solstice. It is on the longest night of the year, and it symbolizes the return of the sun as the year progresses, because we do have those times when we have more light during the day and less of a night, or the opposite where the nights are longer and the days are shorter. This is a time to celebrate with family and friends that are with you. You can have feasts and also give gifts as well. Everyone loves giving gifts, at least I love giving gifts, not as much a person that likes to receive gifts, even though a nice gift every once in a while is kind of fun, but I just love giving someone a handcrafted gift that they just love. Like, because I'm an artist professionally, and I like to come up with new things every year, so I'm not just giving the same thing to all my friends and family on a yearly basis. And because of that, it's just an excuse for me to buy more art supplies so I can learn new skills, so I'm not just giving paintings and drawings to the same people. Another tradition that is very popular during this time of year is the Yule log. Some people actually have a log that they will burn in a fireplace or a fire pit, but other people, depending on their living situation or if they're even allowed to have bonfires at all, they will have a wooden log that they kind of keep year to year. Sometimes it could be plastic or not, but the symbolism is what is important, and they will have either tea light candles or candles next to it lit to celebrate Yule. If you do have a wooden log that you use and you put candles around it, please pay attention to it and don't leave it unsupervised, especially with children or animals around, because if you catch a random wooden log on your kitchen counter with candles and that thing blazes up, you don't want to have a house fire. So please pay attention if you are working with an actual log. And if you are a person that is prone to accidents, I would suggest having an extra fire extinguisher around. Moving on, the next one is Imbolc, and sometimes it can be called Candlemas. This Sabbath marks the early spring and aligns up with Groundhog's Day. I'm not sure if Groundhog's Day is celebrated outside of the United States, but for those who don't know what it is, pretty much there's a random groundhog in the United States on Groundhog's Day, which is in the beginning of February, and if he sees his shadow, there's something to do with it being spring or not being spring, but I never really think it's accurate, but it's just one of those local weird or United States superstitions. I'm not even sure if it's considered a superstition, but Groundhog's Day lines up with Imbolc. This celebration is a time to celebrate the spring and new life that comes with the spring, as the early spring is sometimes when people start to plant their crops and flowers. So it is a time to have a little bit of hope that warmth will start to show up again. I really look forward to this time of year because I am not a person who enjoys the cold. I don't mind the fall and the spring, but the winter is not my time. And a popular goddess that is celebrated during this time is Brigid, and she is a Celtic goddess. Following Imbolc is Ostara, and this is the spring equinox. This is also a spring holiday to celebrate a time for renewal and rebirth. This celebration is really focusing on the sun getting stronger and stronger as the spring progresses. And depending on the temperature in your area, if people have not already started planting their seeds or little saplings, this is the next best time to do that, depending on the frost that you are still getting in your area. But by this point of the spring, the night and the day are more so equal. Up next is Beltane, which is also called May Day. May Day is full on spring and everything is full of life and green. You want to focus on growth and fertility. People tend to dance around maypoles, and this represents the union of the god and the goddess if you are in the Wiccan tradition. Some things that people like to do is gather flowers and make little crowns out of them. Now that we are getting out of spring, the next one is Litha, which is also the summer solstice, or called midsummer. This is to represent the longest day of the year, and it is a time to celebrate the sun and the god because they are at their strongest. Up next is Lunasa, and this is where the start of the fall harvests are. The sun is slowly losing power, and then the nights are now becoming longer and longer, all up until we get to Yule again. So this originated as a Gaelic festival, and it is often a time to celebrate the god Lu, which is where the name Lunasa comes from. And the last one is Mabon, or the autumn equinox. This is a kind of like a modern or pagan Thanksgiving, since it is full-on harvest season and in preparation for the winter. So just like in the United States and some other countries that have Thanksgiving, this is a time to be thankful for everything that the year has provided for you and to dwell on the things that you have achieved and what you would like to continue to work on in the upcoming year. So I have just gone over a very basic, bare bone description and some traditions of the 8 sabbats. The last thing I want to go over today is decorations for each one of these sabbats that you could use to either decorate your home, your front porch, your back deck, or just your altar. The cool thing about most of these is that almost all the other holidays that are not witchy or pagan or Wiccan in particular, you can find these decorations at the same time as other holidays that other religions celebrate, and it is very convenient because otherwise no one's really going to know the difference in what holiday you celebrate. And mostly what I do is I will go after the end of the holidays, get the sale prices, and then use them for the next year. For Samhain, you can use fall or Halloween decorations. You could also, on your altar or around your home, you can put up photos of loved ones that have passed, and you can also put up gourds and pumpkins or any fall decorations as well. The same thing goes for Yule. You can have the Yule log. You can put up what people call a Christmas tree or holiday tree, pine cones, wreaths, candles, fruits, nuts, berries, anything wintry or winter celebration like. For Imbolc, you could always put up a statue of Brie. You can use the colors red and white and a little bit of green, and that represents blood and the growth of life in early spring. That's kind of the same concept of the Groundhog's Day, hoping for an early spring and not hoping for a longer winter. You could always plant flowers or have flowers and new fresh plants in your home as well to kind of give you a little bit more of a spring feeling, even though it is still a tidbit chilly outside. For Ostara, it kind of lines up with Easter. You could always use tie-dye eggs as decorations. If you want to do more research on that, there is a reason for the eggs and the bunnies, and that represents spring. And like I said, for Easter, you can always use light colors or pastel colors to represent the spring as well. And you maybe want to start planting little seeds inside your home. I know some people will take little Dixie cups and a little bit of dirt and start to plant their seeds, so it's easier to get them started outside. And also around this time is St. Patrick's Day, and St. Patrick was a saint in the Catholic religion who is said to have dispelled these snakes from Ireland, but what is believed, there were not ever actual snakes in Ireland, but they dispelled pagans from Ireland. So sometimes to protest St. Patrick's Day, people will put snakes up around their house. I wouldn't use real snakes, but maybe little toy snakes and put them in some decorations. Next up is Beltane. This is also a spring celebration. You would want to have flowers and symbols of fertility, the maypoles, butterflies, colors. You could use antlers to symbolize the spring and fertility, acorns, and seeds. Up next is Letha. Sunflowers are always a good option for this time and to celebrate the outdoors. You can maybe have your celebrations outside as long as it's not raining, and you want to celebrate the god as the sun comes out. And the colors that you want to use are warm colors like yellow, orange, and red. Following Letha is Lunasa. You also can use yellow, oranges, and reds, but now it's getting a little closer to the fall, so you can throw in some browns, but I would use deeper colors of red, orange, and yellow. So it kind of gets more into that fall feeling. You can also start to bring out other fall decorations, such as wreaths, acorns, grapes, and anything that you would keep on your dining room table in the fall or even around Thanksgiving. And the same goes for Mabon because it is a fall festivities, but you can also throw in scarecrows, pumpkins, and gourds. That is all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this episode on the Wheel of the Year. If you guys are new to the podcast, you can find us on social media. On Instagram, it is Cats Tea and Witchcraft. On Twitter, it is Cats Tea and Witch, and also in the description of this podcast, you will also find the website. If you would like to send a message, you can message me on any one of the social medias, but you can also send an email to catsteaandwitchcraftpodcast@gmail.com. I hope you all have a great upcoming week, and I will talk to you next week. Blessed be.